Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for watching. This is Here Am I doing the Proverbs study, and you can see it's not early morning. I woke up this morning and we was under tornado watches, warnings, whatever you want to call it. It was hailing at the house. I said, well, I'll just do it on my lunch break, which we just had a tornado come through. So, sitting in my truck, having my lunch break, getting in the Word. We're going to be in Proverbs 5 today. Excited about this. And if this is your first time tuning in, go back and watch where we started. We're starting in verse 1, working our way through the 31 Proverbs. We're doing a Proverbs a day. And y'all jump in there with us. But it's talking in Proverbs 5, it's talking about warning against sexual sin. Go ahead and get started in verse 1. It says, My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. And what it's saying there, this strange woman is a prostitute. Proverbs includes many warnings against illicit sex for several reasons. First, a prostitute's charm is used as an example of any temptation to do wrong or to leave the pursuit of wisdom. Second, sexual immorality of any kind was and still is extremely dangerous. It destroys family life. It eats away at one's ability to love. It degrades human beings and turns them into objects. It can lead to disease. It can result in unwanted children. Third, sexual immorality is against God's law. Jumping back in verse 4, it says, But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life. Her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. And thou mourn at the last, when thy flesh and thy body are consumed, and say, How have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof? And have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me? And what it's saying there is when temptation strikes, it is too late to ask for advice. When desire is fully activated, people don't want advice. They want satisfaction. The best time to learn the dangers and foolishness of going after forbidden sex or anything else that is harmful is long before the temptation comes. Resistance is easier if the decision has already been made. Don't wait to see what happens. Prepare for temptation by deciding now how you will act when you face it. Verse 14 says, I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thy own well. It's saying there in verse 15, drink waters out of thy own cistern is a picture of faithfulness in marriage. In desert lands, water is precious, and a well is a family's most important possessions. In Old Testament times, it was considered a crime to steal water from someone else's well, just as it is a crime to have intercourse with another man's wife. In both cases, the offender is endangering the family. It says, in verse 16, Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of water in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of a man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. Saying there, in contrast to much of what we read, see and hear today, this passage urges couples to look to each other for lifelong satisfaction and companionship. Many temptations entice husbands and wives to desert each other for enticement and pleasures to be found elsewhere. If marriage becomes dual, but God designed marriage and sanctified it, and only within this covenant relationships can we find real love and fulfillment. Don't let God's best for you be wasted on the illusion of greener pastures elsewhere. Instead, rejoice with your spouse as you give yourselves to God and to each other. Verse 22, his own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instructions, and the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. It says, God does not intend faithfulness in marriage to be boring, lifeless, pleasureless, and dull. Sex is a gift God gives to married people for their mutual enjoyment. Real happiness comes when we decide to find pleasure in the relationship God has given or will give us, and to commit ourselves to making it pleasurable for our spouse. The real danger is in doubting that God knows and cares for us. We then may resent this timing and carelessly pursue sexual pleasure without his blessing. In verse 19, it's saying, let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. It's saying there's, see the Song of Solomon, chapter 4, for parallels to this frank impression of the joys of sexual pleasure in marriage. So that's good stuff. And that should be taught, taught to kids when you have the birds and the bees taught. That this is something good that needs to be taught to children, or not children, but as they're coming up, in years. This day and age, it's all about sexual pleasures. You see it everywhere. I mean, you get on YouTube, you get on social media, it's everywhere. And it's been going on since the beginning. But the Lord's telling us there, if we will stick it out, even when things get hard, that our life will be much easier. But I hope this helps somebody today. Hope that you get something from it. I hope you stick along with us as we go through Proverbs. Tomorrow will be Proverbs 6, which is warning against foolish actions. So that'll be a good one to jump into. And went up this weekend to my papa's. He was having his 86th birthday party, and I put the mic on him and let him talk. I asked him the question. I said, Papa, if you could talk to somebody and tell them about Jesus, and you only had a minute or so to talk to them, what would you tell them? And you can see his little video we made. Wish I had more time to sit down and get a better interview with him, and I'm gonna try to do that here pretty soon. But I love all y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and let's get on through this thing, and then we'll jump into something else. But y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in. I love y'all.
I am Ben Weaver. When I was about 12 years old, I was going to a church over in Harrison County called Fellowship Baptist Church. And that was August and all, for 2 weeks. And I'd go there, and there'd be so many people outside there was inside and all. And I held on that bench and held on. And the second week, I got saved on a Thursday night, and I swear, I believe I left my fingers on the bench. But we got baptized in the Copper Mine Creek. 18 of us were baptized there, and to the day I can see the water running over the rocks every time I think about that day. So if you ever been ain't saved, you need to be saved. Get with Christ and get yourself right with Him, and you'll be a lot better man, a better boy, or whatever you grow up, and you always love going to church and all. And I can't live without my church. I have to go every time the door's open. And I'm planning on going right now back to church. I'm visiting my son and his wife, and I had a birthday tomorrow, and they had my birthday party. And so I thank God for that, and I thank Jesus for everything He's ever done for me. So always remember that you don't have to face Jesus before you leave us, while you leave us walk a wife. And he don't have to walk you through the gates if you've been doing right. We ask this thing in your name.